Hey guys, hi everybody. Happy Wellness Wednesday. Welcome back. Mwah, 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 mwah. So good to see you. So I'm super excited today because you asked for it. You got it. We're launching a book club. We talked about this months ago, and I have an incredible book for us to kick our book club off with. And I'm going to talk about it today and check in with you and see how you're doing. But first, let's talk a little bit about our club. So what my thought is that I'm going to pick the first book, and then we're going to stay in connection and communication. We're going to see what books that you want to read, what books that you want to connect with, connect over, and how we can work on building this together. And I don't know about you, but I'm sort of a slow reader, so I read probably like a book a month because oftentimes I fall asleep, not because they're not fantastic, but because when I read at night, So we'll probably take a couple weeks to a month when we pick a title, and I'll weave in other Wellness Wednesday topics as well, but we'll just touch base on our book and see how we're doing. And then I'll post some other posts in my social media feed on Facebook and on Instagram and talk about, like what I'm seeing in the book, what I'm exploring, so that we can keep the conversation going in between our Wellness Wednesdays. How does that sound so far, you guys? We'll just let this unfold organically. I don't have a big plan for it. I usually have a big plan for everything I do and an incredible marketing plan to accompany it. But this is just fun, and you and I are going to guide it together. Sound good? Okay, awesome. I love all the hearts. Hey everybody. Hi Lisa. Hey Lee. Hey Stephanie. Hi guys. I'm so glad that you're here. Hey Vinny. Okay, awesome. Okay, so let me tell you about our first title. Here we go. It's called The Beautiful No. How many of you have heard of this book? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up. Tell me in the comments. Everybody's talking about it. It just got released yesterday, and I was so privileged to get an advance copy of the book a few months ago. And it's such a beautiful memoir. And the reason why I chose it is because I think there are so many themes in this book that many of us can relate to. I know I certainly can. And so this book is by my friend Sheri Salata, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her before we start to explore a couple of the topics that I want to talk about today. So many of you know who Sheri is, and some of you may follow her on social, or perhaps you listen to the Sheri and Nancy podcast, but a lot of you probably know her without even knowing her. How many of you are big Oprah fans out there? And how many of you grew up or raised your children while you were watching the Oprah Winfrey Show every day at 4 o'clock, Monday through Friday? That's when it was on for me. And, that was a huge part of your life. It certainly was a big part of my life. And it was a dream come true when I was on the Oprah Winfrey Show back in 2007. And then I got to work with OWN. It was like one of the highlights of my career and the highlights of my life, meeting Oprah. Well, Sheri was the executive producer of the Oprah Winfrey Show. She was the co-president of Harpo and the co-president of OWN. And she worked side by side with Oprah for over 20 years. So even if you don't know her, that's what I mean, you probably do, because she was part of bringing those incredible stories right into your home every week, every day, if you watch like me. So anyway, the book is an exploration of this woman Sheri, my friend, in her midlife, or as she calls the middle of her life, and looking back over her life and saying, you know what, I created my dream job. This is my dream job. There's nothing better than this. I'm at the top of my game working for the most incredible show in the world, for the most incredible woman in the world, but I have not built my dream life. My dream job, yes, I can check it off. I'm working my buns off, loving every minute of it, but there's so many aspects of my life that are, if I look at them, and I'm to be very honest with myself, that I'm not happy with, that doesn't feel like it's my dream, and maybe even areas of my life that I'm neglecting, and in some cases desperately neglecting. And I could relate to that in such a big way. Certainly in my own life now, I can still relate to that, but in my previous life, in my previous career, I felt like Sheri was talking directly to me. And so one of the themes that she explores in this book And whether you read it or not, which I really hope you do, and I really hope that you dive in and you're into our book club. And actually, before I go into the theme, let me tell you where to go. On Facebook, you can go to kriscarr.com/thebeautifulno, kriscarr.com/thebeautifulno. And then Jessie from my team also left a link in the pinned comment of this post, so you can definitely check that out. And the more of us that are reading the book, the better, because that's how we can truly dig into these topics. Okay, so I digressed a little bit, but what I was going to say is one of the themes that I love so much is Sheri talks about setting her compass, her inner guidance system to happiness, and starting to make decisions in her life based on what will give me joy, what will make me happy, what will light me up, what will feed my soul, what will nourish me. And, you know, for many of us, that's a dream. It truly is, but it's not something that we're pursuing, you know, like it's our spiritual practice on a regular basis. And I can tell you from my own life, the more we do, the happier and healthier we become. One of the reasons why I talk about happiness and joy and those feel-good feelings, and making sure that when we detour into those feel-bad feelings or fear or desperation or whatever, that we remind ourselves that we are the authors of our thoughts, and that our thoughts become our reality, and our thoughts shape our lives in such big ways. And it's a very important part of our well-being and our wellness, because all of the kale in the world, all of the green juice, all of the healthy practices that we talk about, you know, a couple weeks ago we were talking about hydration, and we've been talking about sleep. None of that matters if we're really unhappy. Happiness changes our body's chemistry. Happiness changes our immune system. Happiness changes our potential. Happiness changes our lives. And when we're happy, we impact so many other people's lives. We just spread that happiness like a gorgeous joy virus. You know, and so that's why it's really a big topic, and it's not something that we should take lightly. Committing to making our internal compass led by joy. Setting it to happiness. And then when we do that, we get to look at the experiences and the opportunities and the people in our lives and say, you know, check in with ourselves and say, does this light me up? Does this make me happy? Would saying yes to this make me feel good? Or would it be yet another obligation that puts me last? Would it be yet another reinforcement of my people-pleasing habits? Would it be yet another sidestep on my mission? Would it be because I'm so, you know, I want to be loved, or I feel so insecure, or I'm afraid this person will reject me, and therefore I will sacrifice myself and open my veins and give them everything I have because I'm just so afraid of that feeling? That is not, all of those examples are not examples of joy. They're not examples of what leads us to happiness. And so I think as you read this book and as we explore this book together, you'll be able to look at your own life through that lens. And again, you may not be able to change everything all at once. This is why we talk about progress and not perfection. Right? We don't want to change everything all at once. And maybe there isn't a ton to change. Maybe it's just a slight recalibration. But any type of recalibration or any type of change begins with awareness. That's all you have to do at first, is check out the book and say, okay, I'm gonna look at my life with this lens. I'm gonna bring this awareness into my daily practice, into my spiritual practice of breathing, and see where that takes me. Because I promise you that awareness alone will change so many things. Now, that doesn't mean there won't be some difficult decisions that come up. There may be some relationships that end. You may decide to go a different way. But when you search your soul, you'll know I'm doing this because I'm aligned with my joy. I'm aligned with my happiness. And ultimately, that's what led Sheri to leave her job, leave her dream career, and have the courage to go out on her own and start to build her dream life, where she was, you know, launching her own business, working for herself, and really changing how she connects with herself and putting herself in the driver's seat. Because, you know, more often than not, many of us are putting everybody else there, and we think eventually we'll put ourselves there. One day we'll get to that, but one day is today, my friends, because we don't know how many days that we have. Okay, so that's the first topic. Let me check in with you. Hey guys, hey Dee. Hi everybody, I'm so glad you're here. Hi Heather. Heather just ordered her copy. Karen. Joy Virus, yes, your new phrase. Camilla, hey. Hi Janie. Hi Carol, my book just got delivered and I'm ready. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I hope you dive in tonight. I think you will enjoy it so much. Hi Dawn, nice to see you, honey. Wow, it's so great. Okay, cool. And Susan, you finally made a Wellness Wednesday live. I'm so thrilled. And you're joining here and you just bought Sheri's book. That's awesome. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday and welcome to our first book club meeting. Okay, so another thing that I love about this book, so another topic I want to explore with you today, is the title of the book. It's called The Beautiful No. And you might be like, well, what's the title about? So the title is about something that I'm sure many of you can relate to. I certainly can. And it comes from being rejected from what she thought was her dream job and, being super disappointed about getting the no for this position that she applied to during a time when she was struggling to really understand what she wanted to be doing. And she had so many different careers and so many different experiences, but it still didn't feel like she was doing what she was meant to be doing. And she thought this was the next step, but she got the big no. And many of you have had that experience where you get that rejection and it's so devastating and you think your life is over and you're just like, well, what am I going to do? I thought this was it. Well, lo and behold, that big no was her big blessing because I don't know if it was weeks later or months later, but not long after that, she got the job at the Oprah Winfrey Show. And so how interesting is it? She talks about it in the book, but I know I've experienced this in my own life. How interesting is it? If we saw our rejections as protection, if we saw our rejections as just a detour, if we saw our rejections as the universe saying, not this way, as the universe saying, or whoever, the higher power saying, there's something bigger coming, so I'm gonna say no to this because I really want you to get this. If we thought about it like that, how much pain and suffering would we be able to mitigate? It's not to say that sometimes it doesn't hurt, it sure can, but maybe we wouldn't spend so many years marinating in that hurt, marinating in that pain, marinating in that suffering, and really taking that rejection or that, in some cases, abandonment into our cells and our tissue. Because remember, your cells are listening. So let me tell you a story from my own life. And this one was so painful for me, and I didn't really understand what was going on until many years later. But long time ago in a galaxy far away, I was engaged to another man. And I was on my way to getting married. We were maybe months away from the wedding, and he cheated on me. And I found out because I got a letter and pictures from the girl. And I was totally devastated. And it was maybe the most heartbreaking, romantic experience of my life, and for years I never thought I would recover. I never thought I would open my heart again. I never thought I would love again. I never thought I would trust again. And I also saw that rejection as there must be something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not interesting enough, all of the things that we do to ourselves. When the truth is, it had nothing to do with me and everything to do with him. And not to say that there weren't aspects of our relationship that we didn't need to work on. We sure did. But that rejection was not a reflection of my worth. So cut to a couple of years later, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I can tell you with every fiber of my being that man would not be able to be by my side on this journey. This would have been a journey that he would not be up for. This would have been a journey that he would not have been able to handle. And I wouldn't have written my books. I wouldn't be here with you. I wouldn't have made my film. I wouldn't have met the love of my life, my Brian, who I met in the edit room, right? Okay, I met him when he was working on the film with me. Love was not on my radar. I did not want to have a boyfriend. I did not want to be in a relationship. I had been in a relationship for a very long time, and I had been in a lot of unhealthy relationships, including that one. And I just thought, this is all about me right now. I need to learn how to love myself and be my own best friend and my own partner for quite some time. But lo and behold, love came a knocking when I did not expect it. And when I was in the probably realest, most vulnerable, most truest time of my life, when I was like, this is me, all of me. I'm not going to pretend to be anybody else. I don't even care if you like me, because what I'm working on right now is saving my life and liking myself. Okay? So that rejection that I got from that man that I was about to marry, and the way that it all fell apart and how terrible I felt, thank God. Thank the universe. Thank goodness that that happened for me, because something much bigger, a much bigger love, including the love that I feel for you, was on the way. And that love is something that never would have materialized. Mark my words. I know it in my bones. I know it in my soul. So when I read that example and thought about the power of this title, I reflected on that story and on the idea that I shared with you a moment ago, which is, if we only knew that in the moment, if we could only feel the rejection or look at that no and say, oh, thank you. That must mean that something bigger is coming. Oh, my goodness. All right, I'm not going to hold on to this pain because I know I'm made for more and I'm meant for more. How many of you can relate to that? How many of you have a story, maybe not like my story, but you have a story from your own life where you can look back now, many years later, and know that that rejection was protection. That rejection led me to what I'm doing right now, led me to a better life. How many of you can say yes to that and understand that and have experienced that in your own life? Karen says, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been thinking lately. When someone cancels on me, I say to myself, something better must be coming, and the universe is keeping me free. Karen, that is such a beautiful teaching. I'm so grateful that you put that in the comments. That is absolutely true. Yes, Paula says, a no can be such a blessing. Yes, absolutely. Okay, guys, I see that you totally relate to that as well. Okay, so good. So for those of you who are tuning in late, we launched our book club. Many of you talked about it, maybe a couple of months ago. And when I was reading Ask and It Is Given, which by the way, has continued to change my life, the work of Abraham, which is embedded throughout this book, because Sheri has been a longtime student of Abraham. So if you are a student of Abraham and the law of attraction, and you love Esther Hicks' work, then I think you will see a lot of it reflected here. So we launched our book club with The Beautiful No by Sheri Salata. There's a link in the comments in the pinned post where you can go and get the book and you can join us and read along. We're going to talk about it over the course of the next couple of Wellness Wednesdays. And of course, I'm going to weave in other topics. And you can also go to kriscarr.com/The Beautiful No. Okay, so one more topic I want to talk about is, it's a chapter in the book, and I felt that this chapter was so powerful, and it's at the top of the book. So those of you who are just starting to read the book, or will start to read the book once it gets delivered to your house, or you pick it up from your local bookstore, it's within the first 30 pages, and the chapter is called The Reckoning. And if it's okay with you, I know we're going a little long. I usually try to keep it to 15 minutes or so, but here we are together, and it's our book club time. I'm going to read a little bit from it because I was just so moved by this passage. Does that sound okay? Okay, awesome. Okay, so it starts here. She says, Thursday morning, 100 pounds overweight, no man in sight, and rounding the bend to 57 years old, a full-blown catastrophe. I'll keep the book up so you guys can see it who are just joining in. It's a humiliating description for a woman who has had a seat at some of the most leading-edge personal development conversations ever, who met some of the most prolific thought leaders and spiritual teachers on the planet, who had notebooks filled with every little nugget that gave her an aha moment, who ran half marathons, scaled mountains, was trained to meditate, and immersed herself in spiritual workshops and reading as if her life depended on it. How many of you can relate to that? I know I certainly can. I had more information than most, could recite the tenets of best life living backwards and forward. I'd produced stadium tours entirely devoted to those ideas. In fact, I could produce the hell out of transformation. I just continued to avoid producing the transformation of my own life. Surprisingly, my mood shifts. Instead of contempt, I reach for tenderness, a deep tenderness that has been absent from my internal voice since I can remember. What I have uncovered is my unlived life. My unlived life. I recognize this as the grand epiphany of my reckoning. It pulsates with energy that feels sacred and true, my unlived life, a spare and powerful truth that can set me free. And if I will summon my own capacity for compassion and direct it towards myself as a new practice, I can begin again and learn to inhabit every square inch of it. In the end, the reckoning, my reckoning, your reckoning, is not about self-judgment. It's about hope. It's the beginning of the stirring up of possibility. It's the seed of the tiniest momentum that propels you beyond the ruts you are stuck in, the routine you have so dedicatedly constructed over decades. Yes, it can be painful to consider the past, the missed chances, the wasted time, because it confronts us with what we might have been. But once you have examined your unlived life, you hold in your hand the map to your dreams. You guys, isn't that absolutely beautiful? How beautiful is that? So here is something I want to challenge you to do, challenge us to do. All right. She talks about the unlived life. And you know, I'm a huge fan of journaling. I journal every morning and I write questions for myself that my soul then answers. And it's a time for me to connect with myself and connect with the love that I have for myself and befriend myself fiercely. And so the question that I want to explore in my journal, and I want to invite you to explore, is what areas of my life are still unlived? What areas of my life are still unlived? So you're going to write that down. What areas of my life are still unlived? And I want you to think about what Sheri says. You want to approach this exercise with no judgment whatsoever. No judgment. You're not going to be mean to yourself. You're not going to be nasty to yourself. You're not going to berate yourself for not living, these portions of your life yet. You're just going to explore them and excavate them and see what still feels good for you. Some things may have changed since the last time you wanted whatever you wanted, right? And so the first part is just that awareness, that exploration, that excavation, and looking at it without any judgment, allowing yourself to fully explore this question. You might want to give yourself 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, who knows? Just give yourself enough time, make a cup of tea in the morning, or your whatever it is, your green juice, and just sit by yourself, light a candle, explore it. And then the only other thing I want you to do as part of this exercise, and we'll check in on this next week, because we love accountability. The only other thing I want you to do is say, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me. I see you, I hear you, I support you, and I'm going to champion you on your journey to living like you mean it. So you're just affirming that you have your own back. You're affirming that you are your own friend. You're affirming that you're going to go on the ride together with no judgment. You're just affirming, I got you. Let's do this. I see you. I support you. I hear you. I champion you. Whatever you want, I'm on board. I'm your bestie. I got you. Let's do this. That's all you're going to do. And those two things, well, actually three things. It's the excavation, and it's just bringing awareness and saying, I got you. That's all it takes to start. That's it. We think it takes so much more. We got to buy workshops and programs and go back to school and do all the things. No, it starts there. It's that simple. Okay. So let me check in with you again before we wrap. Hey guys. Oh yes, that's it. What areas of my life are still unlived? That's the question. Susan says, I can relate so much. Thank you, dear Kris. You're so welcome. It's so funny reading passages live on social media to all of my friends and family who I don't know. I hope that works for you, because I would like to continue to read passages from the books that we explore together. Okay, so one other thing I want to say, I keep saying that's it, but then I give you one other thing. I want to share one other thing, is, Sheri reframes the middle of life journey, and she doesn't call it midlife. She calls it this middle of life journey that so many of us are on. And I'm turning 48 this year, so I guess I'm in the middle of life. You don't realize it until one day you start to do the math. But we live people in our 40s and our 50s, we're probably in the middle of life. And our culture and our society, and certainly advertisers and magazines and television programmers and big corporations, look at the folks who are in the middle of life, and say, well, you guys don't count anymore. We actually don't care what you say. You're not the demographic that we're the most interested in. And Sheri talks about this in the book. And certainly in my experience, I was in advertising for many years as a part of my previous career. And I was just in front of the camera. So many of you know I did dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of television commercials. And so I completely understood what it took to book those commercials and to be, a part of advertising huge brands. Like I did 2 Budweiser Super Bowl commercials. So I was pretty much at the top of the game when it came to advertising. And what I got from this book and what I've been exploring personally in my own life is, regardless of what our culture says to us about our value or whether or not we're worthy of even listening to, especially I'm talking to all the advertisers out there, is the middle of your life is not your dissension. That is not the time when you want to start to pack it down, slow it down. I mean, granted, if you want to chill more and enjoy the bounty, go for it. But I think the perception is it's time for us to want less. It's time for us to pack it down. It's time for us to settle. It's time for us to move aside, to let younger folks lead the way. And I don't think that that's true. I actually think that many of us in midlife, we're not on the dissension. We're on the ascension. We're on the rise. This is your springboard. This is your time. You're on the ascension. So I really want you to take that in. And I say that to myself too in times when I say, well, maybe, that part of my life is over. No, Kris, you're on the ascension. And so are you, my friends. So the book is The Beautiful No. It's by my friend Sheri Salata. You want to go to kriscarr.com/The Beautiful No. Look over here at my notes. And you can also check the link that's in the pinned comments. And I hope you enjoyed it. This is our first book club for those of you who are tuning in late. We're going to keep the book club going. We'll check back in next week, and I'll be posting more on social media until then. I hope you have a wonderful week and that this totally resonated with you as much as it resonated with me. I love you guys so much. Mwah! Till we meet again.